Hey, Rythmia family, it's Jerry coming to you from Rythmia in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Rythmia is a life advancement center unlike any other. It's a really wild place. Almost 18,000 people have come through, 17,500 and some odd have come through the doors. 98.85% of the people that have been here claim a life-changing miracle during their stay. Because of this, we get people from all over the world, all walks of life, come here to have this experience. This week, there's 90 some here having this experience. And because of the unique nature of what we do, we have an amazing board of directors. So these are all people who've come here, had the experience, and decided to lend us their name to become part of this organization. Kelly Slater, the world's greatest surfer of all time. Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer. Ron White, the comedian. Michael Bernard Beckwith, the founder of the Agape Spiritual Center and co-author of The Secret. Martin King's son, Martin. Joe Biden's brother, Frank. Jack Canfield, author of Chicken Soup of the Soul. Tony Coe from NYX Cosmetics. Earl Koski, the businessman. All came here, had this thing happen, and decided that they wanted to help. What is this thing that happens here? Well, it's called a soul reclamation or a soul merger, and it changes your life forever from this point on. People, out of those 17,500 people, 90.22% at 6 months say that this was the week that changed their life. 9 out of 10 people say that this was the week that changed their life. Why? Because there's something that happens once you merge your soul. In a soul merger, you have this great moment of devotion to the divine. And you really get it. You get that all these perceived problems that you had and this and that and this are flies on the wall compared to this gift of life and this opportunity to transmute karma and to really, really, really be a part of what's going on. And in that moment, the overwhelming vast majority of people decide that they want to become a beneficial presence on the planet. And how do they do that? In 17,500 unique ways. Some do it by becoming a better mother, a better husband, a better father, a better brother, a better sister. Others do it by getting involved in their community. Others do it by highlighting a skill that they have. It might be basketball. It might be music. It might be singing. It might be writing. It might be producing plays. It might be creating restaurants that serve high quality food. It might be becoming a healer. It might be developing an energetic skill. It might be opening a business. It might be employing people. It might be becoming a psychologist. It might be being a better investment banker. It can mean a myriad of things. But all of these things have something in common. In that moment, what I call the largest aha moment of your life, you get it and you say, that's it, I want to become this. And when you say that you want to become this, a new process starts, and that process is a ceremony unto itself. It's a ceremony unto itself, right? So in ayahuasca, we have these things where they're called ceremonies, and then your life becomes the ceremony because you pick this particular way of becoming a beneficial presence on the planet from a merged part of your soul in conjunction with the divine. You pick this thing. And because of that, it is now your life's mission. Now, in order to be able to achieve this and stay in this path, in this ceremony towards this thing, this becoming a beneficial presence, we have to make some agreements with ourselves. Not based on motivation, but based on contract. So what do I want to say about that? Motivation waxes and wanes, comes and goes, visits us and leaves us. Motivation is a very temporary and fickle part of our life. It's a beautiful thing. I love motivated people. I love listening to great motivators. Fantastic. But I'm not counting on that. What I'm counting on is the contract I made with myself in the presence of the divine. And that is that I'm going to do these things. I am going to become this. I am going to create this. I'm going to create rythmia. And rythmia is going to be a center that all people come from the world to have this happen. That was my way of becoming a beneficial presence. In order to do that, I have to put rythmia first in my life. I have to agree every day to have a little bit of a daily practice, whether that be for you, whatever it is, prayer, meditation, yoga, breathwork, whatever it is, but I have to have a daily practice. I have to agree to some physical activity with myself. I have to agree not to quit by contract with myself. I have to agree to tithe with myself. There's this list of things I have to agree with in order to do that. But once I do that, here are the characteristics of this journey. This journey is going to be harder than anything you've ever done. Just like Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is a quest. It's going to be harder than anything you've ever done. It's going to take longer than you could ever imagine. And it's going to bear more fruit than in your wildest of dreams. That's the deal. And it's going to be filled with successes and failures and trials and tribulations and disasters and miracles and all of these things. And it's going to be uniquely yours. And the excitement of being involved, excuse me, please, in the way that you're going to be involved is going to be beyond measure. Now, when you have this thing happen and you see the light and you have I call it the aha moment of all aha moments. And it comes through and it crystallizes. And then you go home and you tell your uncle what you're going to do. And he says, well, that's ridiculous because you're not good enough to do that. Or you tell your mom and she tries to protect you from failure. And she says, Sonny, you failed so many times before. Please don't get your hopes up. And da-da-da-da. And your neighbor tells you you're not a good singer. You shouldn't do it. And your family's not musically inclined or whatever the thing happens. Then if you rely on motivation, they just took your motivation away. But if you rely on contract, and I mean written contract with yourself, that I'm going to do these things regardless of how I feel that day, and I'm on the mission. And you start, then you're on the path. Now, a lot of people like to write down their goals. I do, but I don't write the volume. I want to tell you why. Because what comes of this is greater than your wildest imagination. What comes of this is greater than your wildest imagination. And by writing down an amount, you're actually limiting the top of what you can do. To give you an example, this system for bringing things into reality, I understood when I was a very young businessman. And in one of my endeavors, I wanted to make $10 million, which seemed at that time, I was a much younger guy, that was a lot of money. And I focused on $10 million, $10 million, $10 million. Now, I ended up selling that company for a little over $90 million. But had I removed the governor from it, it might have been $900 million. So what I'm telling you is that I don't care about your past. I don't care about your failures. I don't care about how many times you got stuck in the starting gates. I don't care about your inherent flaws or defects. I don't care. And the great part is, neither does the divine. It does not care about your yesterday. You can have a 70 IQ and you're still only using about 5% of your brain. You have 95% left in the tank. You can be whatever you want. You can have had 100 failures and it does not matter about the next thing. It has no effect on it, because when you have this happen, you're born again. So Christians love this, that they are always talking about being born again in the spirit, right? When you have this merger, you are actually born again. You are two fragments that coexisted that become one. You are born again. And this is your opportunity. And here's the thing with this. Whether you take advantage of this opportunity or not, you face the same end. What I mean by that is this. Whether you say yes to this and become involved, or you say no to this and don't, we all have the same end of our physicality on this planet. One day, the heart doesn't beat again. The same end. It's how do you want to go there? From right on now to then, how do you want to go there? And I can tell you, both of them are hard, and in their own way, they're both torture. They're both torture. One is a torture of willingness, and I want to explain that. I decided to do this at the greatest risk of money, of my reputation, of ridicule, of the hardest work I've ever done in my life. All of these risks, and those risks are torture. What I got in exchange for that, though, is a feeling of contentment every day of my life. That was a trade. Now, if you say no to it all and stay on the couch and don't want to understand yourself and don't want to experience divinity and don't want to, that's torture as well. But it's torture that is thrust upon you instead of your participation in it. Very different thing. And there is joy in the torture that I'm talking about. There's joy more than anything. There's contentment. And that contentment is the most beautiful feeling in your life. The other thing is there's community. Because in this new thing that you're going to do, you're going to get all of this community in with you. So that is the synopsis of what happens at Rythmia, and why, once you do this, to never limit your upside, because the size of what you're going to create has no top. It has no lid. Has no lid at all. Huge, huge, huge things have come from this place, have come from this thing. And they all start in their tiniest form. So don't listen to other people. Don't limit your top, but come here, have this thing happen. And if you've had it happen, if you're one of the people, so there's 1 out of 10 people at 6 months that doesn't act in this way, decides for whatever reason that they don't want to become a beneficial presence and they want to keep on their path. If you've come here and your uncle talked you out of it, and your aunt or your dad or your mom or your dog or your thing, come back and redo it again. If you're the 1 out of 10 that didn't go for it at 6 months, didn't say this was the week that changed their life, come back and we'll do it again. And for the rest of you, there is no better way to start the new year than here. So please, if you're thinking about coming, book now, get here in January, have this happen, start a new year and a new you, and do it now. And now next week, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in San Jose on business. John Jacob is going to take this broadcast for me in preparation for the holidays. It's a good one. Don't miss it. And then I will catch up with you guys again when I'm back home in Pennsylvania to see my parents. But from Guanacaste, have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day and a beautiful rest of your week. And I will see you at Rythmia. Cheers.